to communicate emergency information via that system, and that is part of our franchise agreement at this time.
Okay.
Will it be tested at noon on Wednesdays or whatever they do with that loud tornado warning we have over the city?
Actually, it is, I can't exactly answer that question, but I do know that they test it, and if you are a digital subscriber and you have one of the other ones, sometimes you'll see the letters EAS going across the readout on your set-top box.
Yeah.
And that's either an activation or a test of that system. And weather alerts happen all the time. You hear that raucous tone that comes across when you're watching a show, and all of a sudden you see this red.
It gets your attention, which
It
is
gets your
exactly what it's
attention.
supposed to do.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely does.
Okay.
Good deal.
Yes, ma'am.
Lindsley Smith, City Communication Director. Let me just address something too, Mr. Shepherd. I know you've been following this. There was going through the entire city of Fayetteville IT assessment. So if you did not get to see the agenda session this week, I do encourage you to go on accessfayetteville.org and see the review of that. It was a summary for the city council at the agenda session of the results of that analysis, and the report would be coming out soon. So you, this group might also want to, look at that report and see it. There are a lot of telecommunication issues going on right now, which should be pretty exciting for this group. Also with the emergency system, there was a partial presentation made this week at the agenda session, but there'll be a further analysis of that next week. And you're essentially looking at something of over 20-year type system that there are blind spots throughout the city, and you have to have a city, or the third largest city in the state of Arkansas, one of the more prominent cities in the southern region. We can't have public safety blind spots. We also have, as you know, we have city buildings that are in this core, which we have the city hall, and then we have several buildings, in the vicinity, the television center being one of them. But we also have in South Fayetteville, we have a whole nother complex where we have the animal shelter, we have parks, we have fleet, we have several bins, water, sewer, we have recycling. And even right now, there are people who say, you can turn on your computer, you can go get coffee, you can do whatever. It's essentially when we first got email where you logged on and it goes dun dun, and then after a while you can get back on. So there's so much that we do need to do as a city. And these are things that the city of Fayetteville and Mayor Jordan has really invested a lot in bringing us really technologically sound. So for this board, I know there are a lot of exciting things going on. I do encourage you to attend or at least watch the city council meeting for next week.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other questions on this subject? Comments? Well, we do have, where did we get the page in here? I said we could look at it from, okay. Here we have the statement from the Fayetteville School System's Chief Information Officer addressed to the Telecom Board. Superintendent Thomas asked that I communicate with you on your request for a report regarding the district's use of the education channel, specifically since we now have our own channel 24/7 on Cox 217. I know you would have liked a representative, but as you know, that's the same night as our school board meeting, and I'm on that agenda, so there is a conflict. I'll be happy to answer specific questions anyone may have by email or phone call. And that's for the public if anybody's watching out there, but also anybody thinks there's something we should share with the public, please contact them yourself directly and ask about that issue. She also, and this is written by Susan Norton, who's the Chief Information Officer for the school system. We run the same programming on 217 Cox, on ATT UVerse 99. Of course, if you've been to 99, it's hyphen 99, something, 99, whatever. And there are several of them, I assume. Maybe all of these same ones are on there. I haven't been there on ATTUers. Our plans for the use of the Cox channel have not changed. Basically, we run all of the school board meetings, all of the student productions from our high school TV class, and other events that we are able to capture. We'll just have that much more time, including new prime time to fill. That's the exciting thing. UATV dominated the best time, and that was, but the high school, or I didn't know if the public schools ever complaining about that, but I think they are excited about it. We post a daily program lineup on our homepage at www.fayar, F-A-Y-A-R, one word, .net. By clicking on the button FPS TV schedule in the event calendar box. And she lists a sample of some of the things they've been running from, for this particular day, which I don't remember which day I received this, Thursday, Friday, or sometime. Anyway, 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. shows originate, but 12:20 p.m. there was something, and 11:30 p.m. Okay, that's out of order, but they are down there at the bottom. We currently run our carousel. See, that's a word I should have known for go round. We currently run our carousel of announcements and facts about the schools between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. and we'll look at extending more video into those hours as we acquire it. We have video production services here that we use to develop programming about best practices in the schools. One example of that is being shown at 2:50 on the day this was written, Leap Ahead Summer Program, but there are many other examples on the website. So that's from Susan Norton, and she's happy to hear from the public or city officials or members of this board or CAT board or anybody who's interested in contacting, because they are very much a public entity as the city is. And let's see, Jim Bemis thanks us for providing draft copy of the board agenda for last month. And in that, he also asked us about the new complaint and appeal process. And, well, he said everything he said in this tonight. In person, live on channel, whatever it is, 216 or AT&T or internet, maybe it's streaming. It's supposed to be, I hope so. By the way, we haven't promoted it enough that the city does have a watch live button up high on the website, and it does work, I understand. Mm-hmm. So you could just go to your computer, go to Fayar and Fayetteville R, and on Google and find it and punch that thing up there at the top and watch now. Whatever's live at that moment. And I believe I did discover from the internet something I'd asked about a year ago, if I may continue this a little bit. At the time we switched to a certain archiving process on Granicus, we lost the ability to download and save a digital file of any meeting that you may have, you watch on the government channel and on CAT. So you can save them that way if you choose to, and as well as view them that way, but it depends on, I think, I discovered you have to use, in my case, with a Macintosh, Safari wouldn't, on the old version of Safari, won't pick it up, won't allow even see this station, those stations. But the one of the other providers, what's the Firefox, yes, I knew it was a critter, but I couldn't remember what critter there for a second. Anyway, Firefox, you can download the software to view these meetings. So that's an alternative to people who don't want to drive out to the Cox office and get a box and attach it to the television, but do have internet access. Okay, we're down to broadband. Was there anything new, Mr. Tennant?
No, there's not really any developments on that. Still waiting on word on funding. I will say, just while I have the opportunity from a internet perspective, I want to second what Lindsley said, which is the technology assessment that was given at the agenda session was quite informative. I was at the agenda session, and it was a 45-minute presentation that really did a good job assessing where the city is now and the things they're doing well, the things they're not doing well, and also the things that they could be doing, recommendations of 30 days out, 90 days out, moving forward, things like that. Certainly there were recommendations on what you have to purchase to get certain places, but there's also efficiencies, assessments of what we have. And I'm always big on assessing, especially in equipment. I think Mr. Geisler would attest to the fact that you always want to know if you've spent a ton of money on equipment, you want to make sure you know where it all is and that it's all working, because too many times you open a door and there's something that you paid hundreds of dollars for that's not being used for whatever reason. So those sort of inventory assessments I think are very important. So hopefully we can push as a city to know what we have before we throw money at something that we don't know we should throw. So I encourage anyone that wants to go on the Access Fayetteville site and look at that agenda meeting. You can certainly view that, and I would encourage people to do it, because it's a very important thing that's going to send our city into the future with technology and make the future more responsive, inclusive to more citizens. And I think that's just of the utmost importance, to let people take advantage of technology, to view things and participate in government. I just think it's a great way to do it, because some people just can't physically be in meetings, or they can't, see things, and it's good to be able to go online and do it. So lots of good things happening there, and I second what she said about the technology assessment. So
Question, any public comment on that? Or my question then, dropping down to the next thing, Mr. Bemis, did you have any further comment, complaint, or anything?
I should have paid my compliments last session first. I agree that they made tremendous strides at the PEG Center, whatever we're going to call it now. It's a pleasure to walk in there. Last couple of weeks ago now, I took the accelerated training course there, 4-hour course, and I would urge you all, in fact, I'd urge the council to go down and take a version of that, so you'll get a feel for what it takes to do what these folks do every day. I don't think that's ever been done in recent years, where you would really take, like, I've come out of agriculture, where we really go into a farmer's field and see what he's doing to make the crops grow. I think that's exactly what you need to do, to show folks what goes on down there, so they have a full appreciation of what it takes, how many hours, what kind of technical skills, the kind of money that you're investing in this, and what you get for it. I would urge you to go down. They have, I don't know if they're going to, Anne, are you going to have those accelerated courses all the time?
In January, there'll be 2 3-hour courses back to back.
Two courses in January, 3-hour courses. To repeat what?
Going-
It's,
And they,
share the podium with her for a second. Let her make that
oh,
point
sure.
while you've got it to the forefront.
The Accelerated Producers Training, starting in January, will be, we'll offer it twice a month, and each offering will be 2 3-hour sessions back to back. So on a Monday and Tuesday evening, for instance, from 5 to 8, you go through those 2 classes of 3 hours each, and you've gotten what you need to start off as a, what are we calling it? It's not a certified candidate producer, a candidate producer to go out and make your own television. So this was our pilot program to try it at 4 hours, and we decided to lengthen it, but it's still an accelerated program. We're really excited about launching, and I'm taking it this Saturday. So I'm glad to hear that it was a good experience for you.
Thank you.
thank you.
I think that y'all have talked about this, but they actually have an educational director. Is that what we're calling him? JR?
Yes, the Director of Education, starting in 2011.
Right. And that is, allows you to focus a lot more on training. It's a pretty tough, as an educator, it's a tough task. People come in there from every age group and every kind of skill level. I'm a real klutz. And working with older folks, for example, and people who don't have very good motor skills is a very difficult task in those situations. But they did a beautiful job on it. And I wanted to say that if I get to stay as a CAT producer, and if I get to be a community member of the CAT board, I will continue to see, but under the current contract, I don't see that as a very clear signal that I'm going to be able to do that. To answer your question that I didn't answer a while ago about the coverage area for CAT, and actually for all the channels, I don't know if I read franchise the same way, Mr. Geisler. I have asked these questions and never gotten a very clear answer about where and how the cable service provider, I guess, and what do they call them? Telecommunication, what is AT&T now? Telecommunication service
Yes.
provider. Two completely separate legal systems to serve us. They don't have the same basis in Washington, and they don't have the same basis here. AT&T granted the fee, I don't guess that's the word, they accepted the need for them to pay a fee because Cox was paying one. That is not an obligation by law, as I understand it. It doesn't come out of the same law that the Cox is paying its fee. But anyway, you'll be dealing with that this next year. The point being is I don't know if there are any restrictions on what AT&T does with their channels. I don't know where they're going. I don't know if y'all have any say-so based on the law that I know about. But Cox had an opportunity to take all of our channels to the county and simply chose not to. They pulled them out of the county, and I don't know how they do this, but evidently it's just a matter of flipping a switch somewhere. And the people only within the city limits, as I understand it, were receiving the channels, PEG channels. Is that correct? Previously?
Yes, that's correct.
Years ago they did.
But currently, I get your internet. You know, I get it on the internet. I'm able to watch your channel. And as you see the convergence of television and internet, folks, it's going to be like nothing y'all have ever had to deal with before. These things that you all, not this one, but the one I bet you've got, Mr. Tennant, that everybody in this room could be televising this, what we're doing right now, and broadcasting it around the world. And it's here. And I don't think we've begun to get a grasp on that, what it really means. So when you say that we can't go up outside the city limits with CAT because of what Cox is willing to do, I think that's where you folks come in and start using some leverage that you've got. Why can't they go out into the county? Why can't they go out into the 4-county area? Why can't you have regional PEG channels so that these communities up here and the counties get together and do some work together? That's what y'all's opportunity is as a board. You're the leader. You're the only one in the state. You're the only one that can do it under the current ways the cities and the counties are set up. You folks are the beacon. You are the ones that a lot of folks look to outside this county for leadership in how to deal with electronic democracy. I know that sounds, you know, kind of flag waving and all that, but that's exactly what you do. That's enough for right now. But I'm very proud of what y'all have, what the board is, and what the city has done. I'd just like to see you do more and realize that you own these airways much more than do the cable providers and the information service provider. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, he brought up a question, and I too was a little unclear on exactly who now are our current producers on CAT grandfathered in, will people outside the city be allowed to be trained? Can you give us a rundown, or someone else want to give us a rundown on what the latest contract says?
I'll be happy to do that, sir. If this contract is approved by the city council next week, the contract stipulates that the services will be provided free of charge to City of Fayetteville residents only. And we have just finished drafting a letter. Ms. Shelley did a fantastic job in putting together a message for the people that have been users of the public access services over the last 12 months. Both people who have requested imported programming and people who have been utilizing the other services that do not live within the city limits of Fayetteville, or not residents of Fayetteville as defined in the contract. As difficult as it might seem to be, and as difficult as it is to communicate this sometimes, we are dealing with some significantly tight economic times, and with those things in mind and with the direction of the city council, we drafted this contract to provide services to the citizens or residents of the city of Fayetteville only, with one exception, and that is that a resident of Washington County who is not a resident of Fayetteville will have an opportunity to attend class sessions if there's an open position. They will have an opportunity to attend a class session. And community access television will have an opportunity to charge a fee for that person. Other than that, the services of the Fayetteville Public Access Television and the City of Fayetteville Television Center will be limited to residents of Fayetteville.
Well, recalling certain meetings we had discussing contracts in previous years when the Telecom Board was the negotiating body, people were excited about spreading CAT statewide and involving, people from all over. And during the earlier times of seeing the possibility of being online from our own facilities, such as the Granicus system that the stations use now, it seemed quite logical. And but if we're going to give the training free, is there something in there about training people, charging people for training if they don't live in the city or something? Is that in the contract?
Only if they're residents of Washington County. Again, these stipulations were developed with, looking at, taking into account direction of, the city council and our economic situation with the city and budgetary issues, and also thinking about that the services that are provided are provided directly from City of Fayetteville funds and the City of Fayetteville revenue. So those directions were followed when we developed the contract for 2011.
Okay, any other questions, gentlemen? Anyone else have something to contribute on this subject? If not, any announcements? I do have another question before I will suggest to other board members, please submit things for the January 20th meeting, and I hope we have for those who are not here, I hope to show up next month. Another question, however, is did someone apply? Will there be one or two candidates to join this board next month? Ms. Smith?
It's my understanding there are going to be 2 new candidates join the board.
At least, all right? City clerk sent
I
out a
believe the
list.
nominating committee of the city council will be providing a report on Tuesday.
Nominating committee met, I believe it was last night. It takes a little while for them to determine. The nominating committee is, of course, made up of city council members, and they did the interviews, and it's my understanding 4 people did apply, and there are 2 open spots. And I want to thank Mr. Tennant for going ahead and putting a resignation letter in early to be effective in January, because if he did not do that, the nominating committee does meet quarterly, and they do not have special meetings, so they only meet quarterly. So if he did not do that and make it to where it's effective in January, they would not have been able to take up that extra spot, which wouldn't have helped us with quorum type issues as well. So thank you very much. That way the City Council nominating committee was able to do the two. Thank you.
Thank you. I failed to check in with the clerk's office and find out that information. I'm glad you had it for us.
Yeah, I noticed several applicants, so that was good to see. That was good to see.
To follow up on that, Mr. Chairman, and
Yes.
also to follow on a comment that was made earlier in the fact that we're most likely going to see 2 new members of the Telecommunications Board in January. Ms. Smith and I would like to offer to develop an orientation session for the Telecommunications Board members that would include several things regarding, responsibilities, duties, and how the television center operates, how the PEG channels operate, how the Telecommunications Board interacts with the City Council, and to basically provide a good orientation and training for all the members of the Telecommunications Board, specifically the new ones. And we would be glad, with your blessing, would be glad to go forward in developing something that we might be
I think
able to
that's a
present
great
within the first
idea.
quarter of next year.
And remember, Mr. Hilton provided such a session a year or 2 ago when we had some of the new guys. I don't remember who all attended and all the content, but there should be a video copy that you could get a couple of copies to provide them next month.
I'm sure that would be
That
helpful.
first meeting, that would be great.
Even 6 months into my tenure, I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, I think so. And what we did in that meeting, whenever that was, addressed a lot of the paperwork parts, the obligations part. But if you could add that to what he's talking about with really a deep understanding of the channel system and going and doing having a little field trip day and things like that, I think that would be great for everybody here.
Yeah, I do hope they've been there before.
True.
But if not, I hope they've watched it before. You hope that we never get somebody that. I remember a man being interviewed, young man, to be a pressman, a press operator they call them. Pressmen were union positions. I mean, a real profession, like a bricklayer was a real bricklayer or somebody who had helped lay bricks. But anyway, he was being interviewed, and the young leader of the press room at that particular newspaper said, "And now do you have any questions?" And the young man said, "What is a press?" So I'm sure our people will be better trained, more aware. But I've always remembered that and thought, gosh, you got to tell them what you're going to talk about before you interview them. This is what we're talking about. Because that guy, I think they hired him anyway and trained him. He was still working there for a long time. All right, any other comments or questions? Then I will get this stick and say we're adjourned.